It's way past time I dispense some indiscriminate justice!
G'day guys, Duckville here. We are going to watch another replay from MLG Columbus 2011. This is going to be on MLG Tal'Darim Alta. The two players here will be some, well, one pretty well-known player and the other is, I've never heard of him and couldn't actually find out too much information, but our red Terran, as you can see here, is VTavilo. He is going to be over here in the top right hand corner. He is obviously a player who has been around the StarCraft scene for a long time. He does stream, I believe, so if you wanted to catch him, he does stream. I'm not sure how often it is or when it is and that sort of thing, but anyway, he's obviously on Team VT along with Poke Bunny, Spades and Trump and some of those other guys. I believe that's sort of an up-to-date name list, but he is, yeah, obviously a very, very good Terran player. He does, as far as I remember from Brood War, he does some very interesting things from time to time. Meanwhile, his opponent over here in the blue as the Protoss will be Bosnic. He's, I'm not actually sure if I'm saying that right, but that's how I'm going to say it, so if you have a problem with that, that's your problem, not mine. But anyway, he's going to be over here in the top left-hand side of Tal'Darim Alta. Now, this is obviously the MLG version. I actually have no clue about what is different about the MLG version compared to the ladder version. Obviously, as we can see over here, we have these rocks as per normal. It's not like the GSL version, which doesn't have the rocks there, but actually has a lower mineral and gas count. So I'm actually not really sure what the difference is, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to make too much of a difference in this particular game. Now, as you can probably see on the timer for this particular replay, this is a very long cast, so make sure you have a drink bottle, you've got a seatbelt on, you've got a hard hat on, because I'm pretty sure this is going to get a bit crazy. As I said, Avilo does some interesting things from time to time, and the comment that I actually had when I was picking up this replay was just a couple of words. It simply said, nuclear launch detected. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully there will be some fun shenanigans, perhaps with nukes, so we'll see what Avilo gets up to. Meanwhile, back in terms of the actual builds that these guys are doing, 2 racks coming out straight away from Avilo. He's going to have those up and running. He does have a refinery here, so I'm thinking this may be some sort of Marauder expand, perhaps, a Marauder and a couple of Marines, just to make sure you're set up at the natural expansion, or perhaps you may go for some sort of early push, but other than that, nothing too fancy coming out of Avilo for the moment. Meanwhile, his Protoss brother over here is just going for a standard sort of build at the moment. We do not have a second gas. The cybernetic score, as you can see here, is just about done, and the second gas is still not up and running, so this may be just a 1 gate sort of expand. This is a pretty common build on this particular map because of how incredibly large the map is. It can give you the option to actually expand pretty quickly as a Protoss and then actually you know, get that up and running without too much of a hassle. Now, as we can see here, we actually have a Stalker being chrono boosted out by Bosnic, and he's got 2 Zealots already out, so he could be going for some very early pressure against the Terran. Now, this is something which a lot of Protoss, especially on ladder, have actually been doing a little bit, is grabbing 2 early Zealots and that Stalker, and then sort of coming up to your Terran opponent, and whilst they may have a bunker or something ready, you can either run past it, or if it is in the case of a ramp sort of map, you can cause a bit of damage with the 2 Zealots, and they soak up the damage of the Marines, and then of course the Stalker sits up the back and then does the proper damage, which they love to do. Now, not sure what Bosnic is doing. He's getting a little bit happy with these Zealots at the moment. They have taken just a tiny bit of damage, but now the Stalker comes into play. As we mentioned, the Stalker will be the one doing the damage. Here it is, taking a couple of shots. Remember, it is around about, I think it's 3 or is it 4 shots for a Stalker to kill a Marine at level 1, but obviously just at the moment nothing has been done. Checks the natural expansion, sees there's nothing there, and obviously he should be able to detect that there isn't any way he's actually going to do any sort of pressure here at the moment. Avilo obviously has a lot of Marines out already and a couple of Marauders as well. So judging by perhaps the actual count of the Marines and the Marauders, Bosnic may be able to tell that there is a reactor here along with the tech lab, so he certainly can tell that that sort of building structure is already up. Meanwhile, Avilo getting supply block there, not the greatest way to start the game off, but down here, as we can see, Bosnic did actually go for that early expand. He's got that Nexus up, and it is on the way. It's just about done, in fact, and he is now up to 4 gates, so we will be able to obviously protect that early Nexus from any sorts of aggression. And speaking of aggression, there is one Marine coming across. This guy's name is actually Rambo. He's not going to get too far. Decides to run up the ramp anyway. Gets cut up by those Zealots. And as you can see there, his body gets cut in half but the probe transfer goes ahead. And Bosnic is going to be sitting in a pretty good position for his economy for the moment. Now, the advantage, of course, of this early Nexus, it gives him the bonus of having these extra probes mining away at these minerals here, along with the fact that you can pump out 2 probes at a time as opposed to just the single probe from the one Nexus at the start that you do have. Now, it looks like Avillo is going to have a quick poke out to see what he can find. He's coming across the front side of the base. He's going to sweep in, probably use that SCV up the front for some protection for the rest of the forces here, and he is going to just have a quick look here. There are only a few units out at the moment for Bosnic. He does have beautiful sentry usage there with those force fields, capturing some of those Marines and the Marauder. In fact, that was actually a nice exchange there for Bosnic. He's done a good job of deflecting all of those units there. As we said, a beautiful little capture with those force fields, just sort of blocking in some of the units right in the middle there, and he was able to snipe them off quite easily. So nice little defensive play for the moment for Bosnic. He does have a lot of chrono, obviously, as we can see. He has just plopped down a lot of chrono on these warp gates so that he can make sure he gets enough units out. As we mentioned, of course, with this particular build, it does soak up a lot of your minerals early on, and you don't have as much to use on your unit mixture, of course, as we can see here. Bosnic doing a good job keeping up with that sort of thing for the moment, though, using that extra chrono from the Nexus. Now, meanwhile, over across on the other side of the map, Avillo is bunkered up a little bit. He does know that there are some Protoss forces moving across the map, and engineering bay is done. A couple of bunkers just up and ready. There is one Marauder inside here. Of course, it is really funny to see Marauders inside a bunker because that means that they actually have this huge range. Somehow this SCV just actually walks through the whole force of Bosnic there. He was obviously not really watching, but he certainly is going to be watching in a moment because there is going to be some sort of battle. Perhaps we will see what is going to happen here. It looks as if there are some sentries with a little bit of energy, as we can see there. They should be able to force field. In fact, the Guardian shield goes up. Stalkers run around and try and let the Zealots through. Beautiful force fields there, actually making no room at all for SCVs to repair. As such, the bunkers go down straight away. The Marines are being absolutely cut to ribbons by the Zealots at the front, and now the Stalkers go to town on that third bunker that was just across to the side, and it looks as if Avillo is going to be in a little bit of trouble. He may need to get some defense out right away because he's going to be in a lot of trouble unless he gets rid of these units. And as you can see, he's bringing out some of these SCVs. They are going to take a little bit of bit by bit prime action. He's going to not let Bosnic get too far in and deny that command center, but I'll tell you what does go down, and that is the engineering bay. That is not awesome for Avillo, but of course it's not too bad in the end anyway. But meanwhile, as we can see, that's cost Avillo just a little bit on his income. As we can see there, we did have Bosnic up at around about 1,000 mineral income to the very measly of sort of around about 300 for Avillo, so he's going to need to catch up in that regard, and he probably will quick smart with some mules that we did see drop down. Now, meanwhile, over here, very, very interesting tactic here from Bosnic. He's going to grab the 2 forges right out the front door. I'm a little bit skeptical, perhaps, of having them right at the front there, but he is going to be able to start cranking out these upgrades, and as you can see here, even preemptively putting a chrono down, he may want to grab a second upgrade once he gets the minerals. He's lacking in gas at the moment, as we can see. He still doesn't actually have the 4th gas just up at the moment, and it looks as if this one has just been up for a short time as opposed to what it was before. But meanwhile, this SCV, that hero SCV, actually got all the way into the main base of Bosnic, and he has been able to see what is happening here in the main, and obviously you can see just a few gateways up at the moment. There are 6 gates in total. He did see the 2 forges that were here spinning up, and they are getting the +1 to weapons and armor, and it looks as if Avillo is going to have a little bit of a climb if he is going to actually get back in this game for the moment. Now, obviously not saying that it is over already, but he has suffered just a little bit there, given that he did lose a lot of mining time, has lost his presence at the natural expansion, which he's only regaining now, and of course will certainly be behind on the upgrades for the time being. Now, Avillo, we're just looking at the harvester count up here at the top. We actually have a total of 34 harvesters for Avillo, 41 to Bosnic at the moment. As we can see on the tug of war there, we actually have a gas majorly favouring Bosnic at the moment, so he's going to be getting out a lot of gas and probably will be staying ahead just for the time being until Avillo actually gets these 2 gas up and running at the natural expansion. We'll probably see them go down pretty quickly, I would assume, but it looks as if he's sticking with these more of these lower tier units. Obviously, there's a lot of Marines here. There are a lot of Marauders, in fact, actually, as well. And a few medevacs have started popping out. They are gathering up their energy, and they'll be quite useful once he decides to push. Meanwhile, back over at the Protoss base, we're still waiting for exactly what Bosnic is going to do. There we go. We do have a Twilight Council. It's getting the charge upgrade, of course. As a Protoss, you do have to sort of think about which particular upgrade you're going to get first. Of course, Blink gives you more mobility, gives your Stalkers a lot more presence on the map, and gives them the ability to snipe down medevacs and that sort of thing. As opposed to Charge, which is a lot more useful in battles where your Zealots can actually get into the middle of a fight and take out a lot of the Terran units if they get captured by some force fields. But meanwhile, what is going on over here? Villo's just having a look at what is over here. He's loading up a lot of these medevacs here. What's going to happen here? He's deciding that he's going to run through the top and drop into the natural expansion. There are a lot of exposed pylons there. That would be pretty good for a Villo if he can snipe off some of these pylons. Takes 2, takes 3, and a 4th as well, and decides to evacuate the base. Uses those Marines, puts down a stim, and decides to try and scout out what he can, but nothing too much is scouted there. Interestingly, a sensor tower over there in the middle, just planted there randomly by this SCV that's just hanging out in the middle with his buddy Marine up at the top. And again, a drop is going to be coming through here. Villo deciding that it's a good way to harass his opponent. He is certainly going to do a lot of damage if he can run around here. These Marines and Marauders are stimming up. They are taking out various probes, and down even at the natural we have another drop as well. He is taking out all sorts of probes all over the place, and he's trying to even up that score on the economy tab. Meanwhile, the drop in the main has been evicted, and the drop at the natural as well. Take a look at the harvesters killed there. We actually have a total of 25 harvesters killed for Villo. He has done a fantastic job of evening up the stakes in the economy, and even coming over here to this attempted third base, making that Nexus cancel. Bosnic doing a good job cancelling that one, actually. Meanwhile, a snipe going off on those medevacs, and they have been whittled down quite a lot. And this base is not going to be getting up anytime soon. But another drop over here from a Villo, doing a fantastic job of keeping the pressure on his opponent. And he's going to run that little drop out and then have another one back in the main over here. Check that out. This is going crazy at the moment. This medevac just escaping now, and this one is now going to pull back to the corner. This is one really big problem if you're a Protoss player, is having a medevac up in the corner like this, just, you know, chilling up in the corner where you can barely even see it. Hang on, can we even see it? Yeah, we can just sort of see it there up in the corner. But it is quite a little bit of trouble if you do know that is there and you actually can't do anything about it for the time being. And you don't really want to invest in a Stargate just to get one Phoenix out. But what you can do is perhaps chuck down just one cannon here in the mineral line, and then of course another one over here as well, which is a common thing which Protoss have been doing a lot. And especially at expansions, you do tend to see a lot more cannons at expansions from Protoss players. But we'll see if Bosnic is going to do something like that. Interesting wall-off coming here from a Villo. He knows that there may be an attack coming as a counter pressure to the drops. Speaking of the drops, back here in the main, the Marauders drop down out of the medevac. They are going to take out one of the units, and then they are going to get destroyed themselves. There they go. Stalkers blinking up on top of the medevacs, and finally that harassment has ceased for the time being. Villo, as we were saying here, getting these bunkers up, he's actually just going to sacrifice one of those bunkers straight away, get that the salvage, sorry, not sacrifice. I'm not really sure why it's sacrificial bunker. Maybe it, you know, it's going to be put in the sacrificial pit or something like that. But another sensor tower is going to go up here from a Villo. He does have an orbital command waiting here at the front, drops down, and as we saw in our face there, Zealot attempting to run through the front, not going to get too far. Now this is turning into an interesting position here for both of these players. Obviously Bosnic just a tiny bit behind in the supply count, as we can see. Villo is sitting on 124 to the 116 of Bosnic, but he does obviously have a very, very nice unit mixture here. He will be able to force field off a lot with these sentries that are here in the mix. He's going to do a lot of damage with these Stalkers, and of course the Zealots to tank damage, and of course to do a lot of damage themselves. But a drop may be spotted here. A Villo caught out with his pants down. Two of those medevacs going down. Two of them are still left over. One of them quite damaged. The other full of units. The one, interestingly, that is damaged is the one with nothing in it. Meanwhile, there are a couple of Stalkers prepared to deflect this drop. They do indeed do that. Meanwhile, a Villo is going to have to contend with the whole force of Bosnic at his face there when that drop occurs, and loses everything there. Is probably going to lose this medevac as well, but the medevac is coming through here. He does have two Marines. He's going to try and see what he can do. Not going to get too far, I would think. The Stalkers blink on top, and down that goes. So Another attempted sort of harassment there from VTavilo, falling a little bit short, not as good as the first one. The first few drops were absolutely fantastic, as we saw, but what this has done is given VTavilo just a little bit of time to actually get this expansion up and running. So he does have this third. He is cleaning up the rocks at this one over here and may plop down that fourth in a short moment as well. He does have this extra command center which is waiting there, along with a very sexy supply wall, as we can see over there. But he's got this one up and running. Planetary Fortress, missile turret all ready to roll at that expansion, so that should be fine for the moment. Of course, the Planetary Fortress, whilst it may not always live forever as they seem to do, it will give VTavilo time to come and actually counteract any pushes that come through to that third base if they do happen from Bosnic. So Bosnic does have his third base up. Let's have a look at the upgrades in just a moment, but he's got that third. Meanwhile, he's getting his +3 to ground weapons up and running. He does already have +3 to armor, as we can see there. He is absolutely chronoed the hell out of those forges, and he's going to have 3-3 in just a moment. Meanwhile, over here at VTavilo's side, he is going to have, he's got +1-1 at the moment. We do see +2 to both armor and weapons on the way, along with the Mobius reactor for Ghosts. So this could be interesting. We may see a few Ghosts come out of VTavilo, which is a very good addition to the Terran army. Once you have a few of those out, a few EMPs can change the entire face of a battle. And a probe just wandering through here, checking out what's happening at the front, and knows that a few bunkers are there, along with a very significant wall. But a drop has occurred over here for VTavilo. He's done a good job of forcing those probes out. They are not going to have a fun time mining here with those Marines shooting at their faces. And even a Zealot gets sniped away there. Stalkers just tempting to blink in. They will try and snipe off this medevac. I don't think they're going to be able to do it here. No, the medevac escapes just in time. A Marine left as a sacrificial unit there to make sure that the medevac did escape. Couple of gateways still up here waiting to be switched into warp gates for Bosnic. He's going to have a little bit of trouble with dropping in the main, which it looks like he's attempting to do. This huge snake of Protoss units is just running through the back of the base here. Obviously worried about, as we can see up here in the corner, there is that one medevac with quite low on health, but he's very much a threat, of course, as we mentioned earlier, where a Terran could just drop and come out of nowhere, effectively. Interesting. Hello, we are going to see the start of something fun. We have the nukes on the way. Cloaked is just about done for the Ghosts, so we may see some interesting cloaked Ghosts dropping nukes, and it could be a lot of fun, as we'll see here. What does Bosnic actually have to counteract this? He does have the Templar archives. He will be warping in some more High Templar, I would assume. Is he going to warp them in? There they are. Grabbing a couple of them, switching a few of them into Archons already. Usually you do actually see players use the Templar as much as they can with feedback, storms, that sort of thing, as soon as they can, but not often do you always see the Archons coming out straight away. We do see Shields is coming through here from Bosnic. He actually is going to be getting that upgrade as well, which is not a common thing to see. VTavilo, meanwhile, is just getting some real good vision across the map here. As we can see, he's got vision all over the place, and now he has a drop coming down here at the main expansion. Only 5 Marines here. They are not going to get too far. The rest of Bosnic's forces come through and mop that up quite easily. But as we can see, a Ghost is starting to come through here. Not aware of this Ghost at all is Bosnic. However, the Ghost is actually trapped here. He's going to try and run through here. He does see that the forges are up and running. It's going to be a nuke drop here. A lot of Protoss forces running around this Ghost. This guy has to be incredibly scared about this position at the moment. No observers as far as I know. We'll have a quick check in a moment, but a nuke does drop down. Bam, there you go. Number 1 nuke is already done. Number 2 is already on the way. So we have 2 nukes already in this game. We'll see what damage this one could cause. I doubt it's going to stop that upgrade because the Forge is a pretty tough sort of building. Doesn't afraid of anything. And there it goes. Drops down. Takes the Forge down to around about half health. But meanwhile, in the middle of the map, we actually have this very, very scary Protoss force moving through the middle here from Bosnic, deciding to snipe off that factory. Is not going to survive too long. But he is going to be able to run around a little bit more freely without that factory spotting all of these units running around the map. Ghost is still alive. Have a look at that. This guy is actually sitting right there in the middle. He does have 1 nuke to use, but what he doesn't have is too much energy, so he's probably not going to be utilized just at the moment here. However, there you go. He is actually used. The 3rd nuke goes down. We are up to nuke number 3 in the game, and this one probably will take out this Forge. It's not going to be too much of a consequence. In fact, both of these Forges, along with this pylon, are probably going to go down. There it goes. Meanwhile, over here, at the third base here. Avilo is preparing for the worst. He's got 3 bunkers. The command center is going up, which will tank a lot of damage. And this Ghost is just absolutely causing all sorts of havoc. He's going to put down another nuke to make sure that he finishes off these gateways. This one will definitely go down. I'm not sure about that second one up the top there, but this Ghost has now lost his cloak. If any sort of unit comes along, if a probe comes along, you could probably kill that Ghost. But down goes the nuke, and there it is. Nuke number 4 polishing off one of the gateways along with the 2 pylons that were warping in. And what is Bosnic going to do about this? He does have robotics facility now, finally getting out an observer. Oh no, did he actually have an observer at all? No, I don't think he had one because he didn't have a robo. So he's in no way, shape or form prepared. The Ghost just preparing to run in through here. They do have a little bit of energy on this one over here. He's going to be able to put down an EMP, beautiful EMP right on top of those Templar. They've got no more energy to utilize storms or anything like that for the moment, but now it looks as if Avilo has decided it's time to move out. He's put some pressure on with those nukes, being a little bit worried about that. One of the Ghosts goes down. There is still another one over here at the side. He's building up a little bit of energy. He is holding position there and will not be shooting at the moment, but there could be a massive encounter here in the middle. We do have these forces just posturing for the moment. I'm not sure if Bosnic is going to actually go in and attack. He doesn't actually have too much energy on those high Templar, but what he does have is a lot of Zealots and a lot of force fields, as we can see here. Meanwhile, just over in the group for Avilo, he does have a lot of Ghosts. He's probably going to use these, cloaking in, running through, puts down an EMP right on the top of those sentries, hits most of them. EMPs going off all over the place. In fact, on top of some of these high Templar, which actually had no energy in the first place, but the battle will now be on. As we can see here, Avilo doing some beautiful starter step micro to make sure he is getting away from those Zealots so they don't cause too much damage. The Archon Stalker mixture is now coming into effect. The sentries attempting to put down some force fields to stop this starter step, but it is not going to be enough. Stalkers just blinking through here, and it looks as if Avilo is going to try and retreat to the cover of this planetary fortress on the right hand side, but there are way too many Stalkers, Archons and Zealots just in this mix here, and this will probably be quite heavily damaged here if Avilo does not attempt to try and counter this with some forces in the back. But hello, we actually have a nuke. There were 2 nukes. My bad, I didn't even hear the first one. So that was a couple more nukes there. We actually have another one going down on top of these 2 robotics facilities. The pylon was gone, so these are not going to be able to get out a observer. The 2 robos go down, and another 2 nukes are going off. Where were they? There's one defensive one over here. I'm not really sure what that one was intended to do, but he's doing a good job. He's going to just drop that one down. Takes a little bit of damage on his own racks, and just some brilliant defensive nuke play here by Avilo, and somehow this hero SCV again has put down a sensor tower right on the side of Bosnic's half of the map, and he's going to be able to see what is happening in all of these areas here. We'll see this base, of course. Ghost now is running in here, has 2 nukes ready to use, going to put one down right at his feet. He's not too happy about that. The probe now coming along. That is another nuke somewhere else. We'll have a look at that in just a second. We'll see if this probe actually catches the Ghost before it drops a nuke. I don't think this is going to make it. Bam! And that actually hits as well. The probe goes down. That hero probe attempting to save the day. Pylon, and in fact none of these sort of buildings were too damaged, but I'll tell you what, they will be in a moment here. Some Marauders now coming inside. They are going to be able to run through. There is another defensive nuke there from Avilo. I think that was nuke number 3 in that last 10 seconds, and we will see if Avilo is going to be able to take out this Nexus. I would think that he is. These Protoss forces are way too far away to stop this from happening, and the medevacs are going to be loaded up, and this attack guerrilla force is going to be gone. And there they go. Marauders attempting to take out that robotics, and they do actually take it out. Meanwhile, looks as if Bosnic is actually going to try and attempt to take this base as a 4th instead of taking that other one at the 9 o'clock position. Meanwhile, all of these forces across to the side, and Marauders are hacking away at that Colossus, and it looks as if Avilo is going to lose a lot of this. In fact, lost the medevacs as well. But meanwhile, let's have a quick look at what he has been up to over on his side of the map. He's gotten a planetary fortress down at this southeasterly position. We've got another planetary fortress here at this base, along with another one here. It's a command center actually, but it's a little bit far away. Just a little bit unsure about what to do with those destructible rocks. Double nuke coming in here from Avilo. He's going to put this one down right in the center part of Bosnic's base. He's going to be able to blast away all of these pylons, and I would say all of these buildings here, including the cybernetics core. Does it go down? No, it's got 100 health left. One more nuke going down on these pylons. These 3 pylons will definitely go down. Meanwhile, just through the middle of the map, VTavilo is starting to run through the middle with this massive conga line of units. These are going to be encountering this Protoss force. He does have a lot of energy in these sentries. As we can see here, there is still one ghost over here with no energy himself, so he's not going to be able to put down an EMP. This could be trouble for VTavilo if he doesn't actually get some sort of defensive nuke off, because he is going to be in a little bit of trouble. And hello, have a look at that. We actually have bunkers with that armor upgrade, which is very cool to see. Nuke going down here for VTavilo, sees the red dot, and it looks as if Bosnic is going to have to retreat. These 2 ghosts still back inside the main of Bosnic are going to be causing a lot of damage. I would say you'd probably want to put them on top of that cybernetics core so that Bosnic cannot put out any more stalkers for the time being, or sentries of course. And another defensive nuke going off here. We'll have to cancel this one. This is going to do a little bit of damage against all of his buildings here. We can see that center tower is already quite damaged, and it looks as if Bosnic is going to abandon that attempt to run through the front base there of VTavilo, and it looks as if he is going to head down here to the 4th base, which does have 2 of the Ghost Academies. And now we do see that where are those nukes? That was actually a couple more nukes going down. They are going to be on top of these gateways here, but that planetary fortress does go down. I'm a bit surprised that Bosnic is not trying to take out those 2 Ghost Academies that were there, but we will see that he's going to have to retreat, because he has seen that these Terran forces were moving through the map. Have a look at all of those ghosts. That is an incredible amount of ghosts here for VTavilo. He's going to use these, I would say, for some defensive nukes again. Meanwhile, attacking 2 fronts at once. We see a couple more nukes going down. 1, 2 over here. That is going to be nuke number 16 is going down here for VTavilo. He is having an incredibly fun time with all of these nukes, and they are not going to be too useful, because it looks as if Bosnic has decided to come down here, assassinating 2 of those robotics facilities, I believe, along with this 9 o'clock base, which was attempting to be re-established there. But it looks as if a nuke may be going down here. An observer is finally out and is finally proving useful here for Bosnic. He does have a couple of ghosts to contend with, some really interesting spots for these nuclear launches for VTavilo, but he's certainly doing a good job of putting them out there, making sure that Bosnic is very careful with what he's going to do. Blinks there on top of those ghosts, trying to snipe away as many of those ghosts as possible. Now, only down to 8 ghosts, just 8 simple ghosts for VTavilo. He's been doing a fantastic job. Meanwhile, in the main, we actually have 2 ghosts still hacking away at this Nexus. That'll take a little bit of time to get the rest of those down, and more ghosts are actually sitting here inside the main, so he's going to be able to snipe away a lot of units here, and perhaps put down some more nukes if he can. Meanwhile, VTavilo looks to be running through the middle here. He's going to try and put some more pressure on this expansion here. Perhaps if he can take out this robotics facility, he will be in a very good position. Nuke going down on this cybernetics core, and that is going to be the end of the stalkers, or no, it's not. Taking out the shields there, and that is it. Meanwhile, Bosnic is going to have to defend on all sorts of fronts here. Got Marauders and Marines inside this base. The Nexus survives with 25 health, along with a whole bunch of gateways being rebuilt here. Have a quick look at the resource tab, guys. We actually have a whole total of 6,000 minerals here, along with around about 6,000 gas for Bosnic, so he certainly does have enough to rebuild with, but the problem is that he is getting nuked all over the place. And now with that cybernetics core down and a lot of his tech down, he's going to be in a lot of trouble if he wants to rebuild some of these particular units that he's been using for defense. Meanwhile, have a look at this. We got another drop coming through from VTavilo. He's going to try and snipe off this what was the natural expansion. That is going to go down in a very swift time. VTavilo's actually, interestingly, he's starting to get a little bit low on his minerals. I'm not sure if that's just the fact that he's doing a fantastic job with his macro, or if that's the fact that he's nuking everywhere and not really bothering too much. But there are some nukes still going down. Another defensive nuke there put down by VTavilo to make sure that Bosnic could not actually get inside the main to stop the destruction of this base. And as we can see, it looks as if Bosnic is just absolutely stoked. He has no idea where he needs to go at the moment. He cannot go through the front base because there are nukes going off. As we can see, interestingly, another defensive nuke, even though he should know that Bosnic is not out the front. There is another 2 nukes going off. We'll try and find those in just a minute. Where are they? We actually have there's one going down at the front. Takes out the sensor tower hilariously. but we do see that that drop has finally found out where the Templar archives are. There is a drop inside the main. There it is. Sorry about that. We missed that one. There are nukes everywhere. It's so hard to find them all. But that was a couple of nukes here on top of that Nexus, which have now taken that out. And Avilo has been doing an absolutely magnificent job of taking care of Bosnic in terms of his positional play. He's been just running him around the map like no tomorrow. And as we can see, these forces here, interestingly, from Avilo are quite low on health. I'm a bit surprised they haven't been healed up by the medevac. But just back on the topic of Avilo's base, let's just have a look at what he's up to. He's mined out this base, mined out the natural, along with this third. It's just about done. He's trying to get this one up and running here. Obviously, with the mules, that will really help. And he obviously does have these bases down here, but he's a little bit low on the SCVs for the moment, not to mention this planetary fortress sitting in a bit of an odd position. But he should be fine for his income for the moment. And as we can see here, a drop commencing inside what is now effectively main 2.0 for Bosnic. Going to take out that Colossus, probably going to take out some of these gateways as well, which will be fantastic for Avilo. This will definitely put Bosnic in a tough spot. Obviously, as we can see on the resources across to the right of your screen, we do see that Avilo is building up all of his minerals at the moment. He's almost up to 5k minerals and around about 1,000 or about half a thousand gas. And Bosnic, meanwhile, is currently sitting on almost 6k gas. So he's got a lot to play with, not to mention a lot of minerals. The problem that he has is that he has no way to produce any units. He's got a total of 5 gateways over here at this expansion, and just the 3 robotics facilities, just a lazy 3 robotics facilities, just pumping out 1 Colossus each, you know, just a little bit like that. He is going to switch over to that Colossus tech, however, which may actually help him, considering that Avilo has just been pretty much exclusively Marine Marauder and obviously about 50,000 ghosts. So it's one thing to consider is that if Bosnic can get up a decent force of Colossus, he may be able to start running around the map, dealing damage. Of course, Colossus outranged the planetary fortress, which means that he could take them down quite easily. Let's keep an eye on these ghosts. These guys are getting a little bit sneaky. A scan going down, finding out where Bosnic's forces are. They are right in the middle. This 200 army is maxed out. He's going to come in here, try and snipe down this planetary fortress of doom. A defensive nuke coming across here. There are 2 ghosts sitting down on the lower part of the plane. They're going to try and do what they can to defend this base, but this is not going to work. Bosnic has done his job and is now going to get out of there. Nuke goes down and the nuke may even hit those SCVs. What are you doing, Avilo? That is betrayal there. Meanwhile, in the what is essentially the new natural for Bosnic, he's actually lost one of the robotics facilities, losing the pylon for the rest of the robos, and now has lost all 3 robos along with the Nexus as well. He is in a lot of trouble. Meanwhile, we do see that Bosnic is coming to defend his base here. We've got a lot of units here. As we mentioned just a moment ago, we actually have a very scary force here. 3 units along with 1 shield as well. This is going to be quite a lot for Avilo to deal with when he only has these sort of minimalistic guerrilla sort of forces, as we mentioned, that are sort of trying to snipe off what he can, but he does get out of that main. There is another nuke going down from Avilo. He's going to put that one down. Where is that one? There are 2, actually, 2 inside main 2.0 for Avilo, and Bosnic has no way to defend against these. Let's have a look at the explosion. A 3rd one going down as well. Gateway removed. A pylon down here is gone as well. One of these ghosts is sitting here on 25 health, but another nuke goes down on this Nexus. This Nexus will survive just for the moment, but one or maybe 2 more nukes would definitely take it out, and Avilo is going to test that theory. He's going to put another nuke down. That is another 2 nukes, so we are up to nuke number, what are we up to? I think that's number 30 or something like that. I'm trying to count, but I can't actually remember everything. Nexus almost dead. Avilo can just chuck those ghosts onto that Nexus, and that will definitely be gone. The only base left mining here for Bosnic at the moment is this one down here at the 6 o'clock position. We've got no gas coming in just for the moment. Of course, he's a bit more worried about the minerals, but what he really should be worried about is actually production structures. He's got 2 robotics facilities up and running. He does have 1 Colossus. Is there only 1 Colossus in this whole army? There is, yeah, there's only 1 for the moment, but he's going to need a couple more, I would think, if he is going to try and keep this game together. And if he loses his robotics bay, that is also going to be a lot of trouble, and he probably will. Marine Marauder drop coming in here, along with a secondary one up just to the natural there, is going to take out a lot of these pylons, which is really going to hurt Bosnic. Meanwhile, Bosnic coming across to this expansion down with the safety rocks protecting this in a way, you could say, but the planetary fortress will go down. There is way too much for that to contend with, even for a planetary fortress, so that one is going to go down. VTavilo is actually starting to get into a little bit of trouble. He's running into a low gas situation. He's got pretty much a much lower gas, or actually no, it's not. He does have sort of even amount of gas at the moment, but Bosnic obviously does have a much greater bank of gas for the moment, and another planetary fortress goes down. Templar deciding just to run in and make sure the job is done properly. I'm not sure what he's going to do. He has no way to attack apart from maybe throw his hat at the planetary fortress. But another one goes down. Bosnic just sweeping through the map like it's a little bit like watching a Zerg just sweep across the map with those sort of units just plaguing around and just disrupting everything. A defensive nuke, I think that was going down. Where is that one? And I'm not really sure, but there are a couple more going down here. These pylons are in jeopardy. These nukes, of course, do kill pylons in one shot. There is an extra 2 nukes that we can add to that tally. And as we can see here, these pylons, good night. Down they go. Bosnic right back into the red in the supply, as you can see here. If we have a quick look on the resource tab, obviously Bosnic still in a very decent position in terms of his economy. He's done a fantastic job for some reason of you know, not spending any gas. I presume that's because he's had no production facilities for most of the game, but he is trying to get back up into the in the black of the supply, so we'll see if he can do that, and he can get out some Colossus. As I said, probably Colossus would be the best move for now, but the problem is getting these pylons up, because as we mentioned, if those ghosts put down a nuke, all those pylons will die, simply because the pylons do not have enough health to survive a nuclear strike. And as we can see here, VTavilo attempting to get another command center up down in the bottom right corner. He's going to get another one up here at this side as well, and probably we will see him attempt one over here. And hello, what is this ghost doing? This guy is running down here cloaked. He is probably... Oh, he's probably going to try and put this one down on this expansion. Keep an eye on that guy on the side. He's going to try and nuke straight in here. He's trying to find the sweet spot, puts down the red dot, and as we can see, Bosnic is not ready for this. He may, in fact, lose all of these probes. He does get them out just in time, and that ghost will sort of waste that nuke in a way. He's not going to get too much apart from that pylon, but it's definitely something that he has gained there. Where are all these nukes going? That is another nuke going down. He's put that one down again on top of this Nexus. That is another 2 nukes as well. He's going to have this one go down quite swiftly, and there it goes. No observer just yet. There it is. Finds out where that ghost is. Takes out that ghost which is hanging out on the side. And again, we do see Bosnic sweeping through the map, trying to clean up the rest of these command centers which VTavilo is trying to get. However, he's going to have a lot to contend with, because over here on the side, where all of the gateways are, VTavilo is attacking through. These are three Marines and Marauders, of course. These guys just stimming up and going haywire on these bases. As you can see, a little bit of a force just attempting to run up here, trying to snipe off those 2 Colossus that are around. But these units are actually going to be in a lot of trouble if they get cornered here. There are certainly a lot of Protoss forces. If those Zealots can get to the front and some good sentries do put down their force fields, he will be able to crush all of this. In fact, Storm's going down. Beautiful attack there by VTavilo, just coming through. By Bosnic, and actually just cleaning up all of those units. 2 more Colossus joining the battle, and this is starting to look like a little bit of trouble perhaps for VTavilo, unless he can get a proper base up and running. As we mentioned, he does have this 12 o'clock, which is just about mined out. There is gas still coming in from all over the place. He's currently sitting on a gas income of around about 300 to the 100 roughly of Bosnic. Meanwhile, as you can see, the mineral score is a little bit different. We actually have VTavilo way up on around about 2k. That's probably mostly the mules which are sitting down here at this base, and there's none at this base, but you can imagine of what is going on with those guys, with those mules. But down here, we see an attempted attack here by Bosnic. He's just a little bit worried about that sound of the nuke. Where are those nuclear facilities? There they are, the Ghost Academies, still pumping out all sorts of ghosts. As we can see, in fact, VTavilo, has he done it? Yeah, he has. He's actually put down his Ghost Academies on a bind, on a keybind, so he can actually just continually pump out those nukes, which is why he's been doing a fantastic job of just nuking everywhere on the map. Now, as we mentioned, Bosnic is sort of doing a good job of staying in this game by just really denying these expansions. making sure that VTavilo is not going to get a massive sort of income. And as you can see here, whilst VTavilo is currently sitting at 2.5k minerals, he's still struggling a little bit for gas. Obviously, a lot of the gas goes into the nukes. Of course, it does cost 100 for those for every single nuke that he's producing. And as you can see, he may even lose this particular base again. This one is definitely going to go down. There are too many stalkers here with their +3 to weapons. They do 17 against armored, and they dispose of that one quite easily. An observer going down, not that good for Bosnic, given that he's had a little bit of trouble getting observers out. But a lot of Colossus are sitting here at this expansion, protecting this base, making sure that VTavilo does not get too far inside. And cybernetics has been rebuilt for probably like the 15th time this entire game. And a few more gates have gone up to make sure that Bosnic can reproduce his forces when needed. Now we do see that Bosnic is currently sitting on 134 supply to the 180. Whoa, it's gone just way up there. VTavilo's just gone right up to 195 there. He's going to put a defensive nuke down here. We'll see if Bosnic is clever enough to actually see that on the ground. He hasn't seen it just yet, but it looks as if he's going to have enough to actually just bust through all of these forces there. VTavilo attempting to run around the block there with those forces, but he's not going to be able to position the Protoss forces inside the radius of that nuke. And as you can see, he is going to actually have a little bit of trouble now that these Colossus and the Stalkers are deciding to chase after them. They stole their bread, and now they're going to chase after these guys. They do stim to run away, and this is perhaps not the greatest idea for VTavilo, is to draw those Protoss forces into where the Ghost Academies are. As I mentioned earlier on in the game, it's a little bit surprising that Bosnic did not actually kill off these Ghost Academies a little bit earlier, given that this has been VTavilo's weapon of choice, is these nuclear launchers. But now he does finally pick them off. He's going to pick off this one, take out this second one, I would assume, and then he's going to... No, he's not. Again, just, you know, just hanging out, not taking everything there, but he's definitely doing a good job. Either way, still staying in this game, given the, what, something like 30, 40 nukes that we've seen in this game. It is absolutely incredible what VTavilo has been up to. Have a look at the harvester count, 62 of VTavilo to the 34 of Bosnic at the moment, but the problem is Bosnic is just running around the map with this superior army of the Protoss, of course, with the Stalkers, the Colossus. As we can see here, he's just doing a fantastic job sweeping around and making sure that VTavilo is not getting too much of an income, especially in the gas front. Now, as we can see here, one Marauder and a few SCVs attempting to just hang out down here at that expansion. We do have a few more SCVs, I believe. Yeah, they are down here in the corner. They're not going to get too much done down in the corner, but we'll see what the next step is for VTavilo. He's just having a lot of trouble keeping up with the gas and just sort of making his units efficient, and only with these very late Vikings, given that that Bosnic has done this very interesting sort of tech switch throughout the game. He's gone from High Templar to Archons to High Templar again, and then across to Colossus. It's been a little bit of trouble for VTavilo to actually get the Vikings out, which are of course very much needed to defend against Colossus. Now, over here we do have a planetary fortress just morphing in there at the expansion. Still haven't taken out those rocks. I'm not really sure why he hasn't done that, but there are a lot of Colossus here. If these Vikings are used correctly, he could change this battle, but we do see that the battle has begun. A lot of the Colossus, despite the Viking count, ripping apart that Bio Army, and the Bio Army attempts to run away to make sure they do not get torn apart, but the Stalkers are used beautifully there to make sure that the Vikings go down as quickly as possible. And there are 3 Colossus still inside this army. It's become a little bit of a game of tag here. Stim goes down to make sure the Marine Marauders can get away from all of these forces here, and we do see that they are doing a little bit of starter step to try and get away from all of these Protoss units. A lot of Stalkers and an Archon even in there, and a few Immortals as well. And this is just a huge amount for VTavilo to contend with. He's not going to have very much luck here. He is going to take out some of the Protoss forces, but there is just way too much, and he does lose all of those units. And now this is starting to become a little bit of a troublesome situation for VTavilo. He's down to 86 supply to the 139 of Bosnic, and he's going to have to find some way to actually get himself back in the game. Perhaps some of those fantastic nukes that we've seen would be a way to get him into it. Perhaps some very, very useful usage of his Vikings to make sure the Colossus stay out of the battle, but I'm not really sure if it's possible, given that these of course, with the upgrades, the Colossus have their 313, so they're going to do a huge amount of damage, of course, a 21 damage with the Thermal Lance, with extended Thermal Lance, of course, as well. The Immortals, of course, will absolutely rip up the units with their extended damage. They have 65 damage against armored, so it's certainly a lot to contend with, and as well with these stalkers as well doing their 17, so it's quite a lot for Avilo to contend with, and he's going to have to pull something out of a hat, I would think, given that he's starting to run out of his ways to mine around the map, given that he's now being cleaned up down here at the bottom right hand side. This is all going to go down. No more ghosts being produced, just by the way, by Avilo, so he's sticking with the basic Marine Marauder army. He does, interestingly, have 3 nukes prepared, so he certainly could chuck a couple of ghosts out and try and use them to his advantage, but it looks as if what he is going to do is try and drop off some units here at the natural 2.0 of Bosnic, and he is going to get in here and snipe off these probes. These probes are not going to get away in time, I do not think. There they go. There is no medevac here, so keep in mind that once these units get attacked, they are probably going to die straight away, but taking out that pylon, beautiful job to take out the pylon, which had the warping in units here, attempting to run through here, may try and snipe off this expansion. If he can get away from these zealots, he will be able to do some damage, but it looks as if, as we can see, he actually does get cleaned up there at that expansion now with all of these Colossus here. Have a look at that. We actually have a count of 7 Colossus in the game at the moment for Bosnic, so he is in a commanding position, you would say, right about now. If we have a quick look at the army supply, 152 for Bosnic to the sort of struggling 86 of Avilo. He is attempting to do what he can. Of course, he does have a lot of racks here to utilize. He's got probably, I don't know, something like let's see, that's around about 10 racks in total, probably 11 maybe, 12, yeah, something like that. But he's got a lot of racks to use to actually get his armies out. As we can see, he is doing a good job of refreshing these armies with a lot of Marine Marauder here. The problem that he's having is that with only, he does have the 2 starports, he's trying to get out some more medevacs, and a nuke going down. Where is that nuke? I'm not actually sure, but there is a nuke somewhere. A defensive nuke perhaps that was, I'm not actually too sure. But there is a ghost somewhere, and he's attempting to nuke off one of the bases, and we'll see if Avilo has any way to utilize the nukes to get back in the game, but I don't think so. Look at this force here from Avilo. He's attempting to run through. Maybe if he snipes off some of these gateways and the cybernetics core, he may be able to give himself some time to get back in the game. He's now got this Protoss force approaching him from the north. He's going to try and run away with what he can, but it looks as if he is going to get cornered inside this this interesting boxing of buildings here at this base, and it looks as if that is going to be cleaned up. Meanwhile, just over here, there are a couple of units that got left behind, along with all of these Vikings which are attempting to escape. No sniping done on that random Colossus that was just running through the map, and I think we are getting close to a GG because Avilo is in a little bit of a troublesome spot. He does have probably a couple more rounds of production to go, and if he cannot finish off the rest of this army, which I highly doubt he can, he's going to have to GG, because as we can see, those 8 Colossus are now going to be doing a ton of damage, not to mention against SCVs like this. They're going to clean up the rest of those, and now you can probably start marching to victory. But it looks as if Avilo's got one more card up his sleeve. He's going to come down here to this expansion, which still has a decent size amount of minerals here to use, not to mention pretty much all of the gas from those Vespane gas geysers. But we do see that Avilo is now going to have to deflect this attack. I'm not sure how he's going to do that, given that he does have a lot to contend with those 8 Colossus. Only has what are these? We've got 12 Vikings at the moment here. Sorry, my mass has gone dead because this has been an absolutely huge game. Another nuke going down. There goes the nuke on top of the robotics facilities. Perhaps if he can get these down, he will be back in the game. And as we can see here, that is probably not going to take those down for the moment. But actually, this one's half health. There it goes. Almost goes down. Takes out the health and almost all of the shields there from that particular robo, but we do see that a second nuke is going to go down, and that is definitely going to take out that one robo there, and there it goes. And number 3 comes down, in fact taking out both of those robotics facilities there, and now Avilo is perhaps thinking that he can somehow get his way back into this game, but as we can see here, drops attempting to go on here from Avilo. He's doing what he can, but that gets cornered. That nuke landed, took out one of the gateways, I believe it was just over here, or maybe it didn't. No, it just sort of took that one down a little bit, but the tech structures are still kind of safe for Avilo, for Bosnic for the moment. And now coming inside to this expansion, he's going to lose this one, definitely. These Colossus are going to go to town on all of these mules, the SCVs, and of course this unlucky orbital command. There it goes. And now just moving in for the kill, I would think, and perhaps we will see Avilo. I'm not really sure, as I said, what he's going to do, but he's Gonna have to try something if he can. He's got probably this one mining base, if you can call that a mining base. I'd call that a long distance mine in a way. Short distance mine, medium distance mine, I don't know. You guys tell me, I don't really know. But he's got this one running. He still is getting a little bit of income, as we can see, sitting on around about 600 income with around about 300 gas. So he's still in contention for the moment, but Bosnic is just in such a great position for his income, given the progression of this particular game, where we've had around about 30 to 40 nukes. We've had battles all over the map. We've had ghosts EMPing every single thing in sight. And now the Colossus, Stalker, Immortal, Sentry, and Zealot army is probably going to run through Avillo right now. I would think a defensive nuke going down. Not really sure why Bosnic is too bothered by that. He could probably just run straight past it, given the amount of damage output that he has here with this huge force. One Marauder attempting to do what he can. He looks a little bit tired. This guy is not using his stim at all. He's not going to get that Templar Archives down, I don't think. But either way, it's not going to matter too much now, given the state that the game is in. But now, once this force moves down, we'll probably see this last huge hurrah by Avillo. He has all of these Marauders. There's a lot of Marauders there, a lot of Marines as well. I think there was saw one Ghost in that group as well. But this is going to be probably the last stand for Avillo. He's going to come into battle here. The Stalker's now moving into position, trying to lure all of those forces into battle to make sure that the Colossus can do what they can. Now, the Vikings sitting off to the side above the cliff. Stalkers, however, are going to have something to say about that. They do blink up, take out some of those Vikings, and now we do see that this is going global here. The Vikings are trying to do what they can against those Colossus. The Colossus, meanwhile, are just burning away a lot of these units. In fact, Avillo is in an okay position here, given that he actually has taken out all of those Colossus, and or there's one Colossus left, but now the Vikings are going to do what they can about that. That one Colossus is still there in the battle, so nice force fields going down. Colossus is now dead. This Byron Ball may be able to deal with some of this if he's very, very careful and methodical about how he engages his fight. But he doesn't look like he's going to have too much to do there, given how low all of these units are. Look at the health on all of these guys here. And a nuke just flying by our faces there. This is going to go down on top of this gateway. We'll take out the pylon there. Won't take out the gate, of course. And it may even damage this Marauder. This Hero Marauder who's too tired to notice what is going on. Bam! A nuke goes down. A second nuke going off as well. And we will see that these gateways will definitely go down, but I don't think that that is going to help out Avillo too much. What would be really good is to take out some of these pylons to make sure that Bosnic cannot reproduce as fast as he'd like to. And now, as we can see, Avillo has taken this expansion. He is still in quite a very hard position to actually come back from, but he's doing what he can. As we can see here, Bosnic has taken this corner base as well, and now along with this the Natural 2.0, he's going to be in a beautiful position at the moment, getting a robotics facility, going to replenish the gateway count, and he's going to be able to probably, you would think, stomp through Avillo in the next few minutes, but we'll see what happens. Still no Colossus replenishment just yet, because of course those robotics facilities were taken out. But I just, in terms of what Avillo could have perhaps done a little bit differently, was a little bit, whilst his map control was very good during the start of the game, he started to lose a lot of it, and now without a lot of, like a high medevac count, he's just starting to lose a lot of these forces to those massive amounts of Colossus that were present throughout the middle of the game. So we'll see what he can do here. He's got probably this last group of units. He's starting to run low on the minerals, as we can see. If we have a quick look on the resource tab, we have Bosnic sitting up there at around about 2k minerals and the 1k gas, so he's definitely in a position to hold off any type of attack. Speaking of attack, we did have a little one going through here, and he's not going to be able to do too much damage there with that little Marine Marauder force, but trying to perhaps just to hold off while he gets some more minerals in, but he's not going to be able to do too much. I wouldn't think. There are starting to be a lot of Immortals here. These guys are going to, of course, rip through the Marauders if they come into the fight, and then we will see what happens. It looks as if Avillo may be preparing to attack here. We'll see if what Bosnic is going to do. He's just waiting to see what Avillo is up to with this decent-sized Marine Marauder force, along with a couple of Ghosts and some medevac defensive nukes going down. There's one nuke across to the side. We have one over here as a protective measure for Avillo's units, but he's not going to need it at the moment. These guys are going to just tear through all of these pylons and the gateways, and even the cybernetic score. We're going to have another cybernetic score rebuild here. by Bosnic if he is going to need to replenish all of his units. But as you can see, this all going down. This very anti-armor sort of force here from Bosnic is going to absolutely rip through everything once they come into contact with all of these Marauders. The Marauders are now deciding to stim. Some cannons going down at that expansion. That's not going to do too much damage considering how many Marauders there are. These guys are just running around this position here, a little bit of chasey here, if you will. And these guys are trying to run away whilst they want to see them get a little bit of their health back because they have stimmed a lot. That is a huge anti-armor force there by Bosnic. He has four Immortals along with a whole heap of Stalkers and of course those Zealots in the battle there. And now, interestingly, Avila attempting to cut around the other side again. May try and get inside the base. If he can snipe off some of these buildings, he may be able to get through and try and force this into a base race, but I don't think he'll be able to win that base race, of course, given the position it is in. And wow, there we go, 3 Colossus marching into battle. This is definitely a sure thing for Bosnic now. It's just a matter of time and obviously a matter of catching out these units from Avila. He is going to stim away, trying to keep those units alive for the time being. He's probably going to run away and try and get his units back together. Obviously, we do have some reinforcements here. We do have, were there any more medevacs on the way? There's one Viking on the way. Not really sure what he's going to do with that, considering it's only one Viking to the many Stalkers that are sitting here. But Bosnic just sort of checking out the lay of the land, finding out what's going on. We can hear that another Colossus is on the way, and now we will see perhaps the final battle. We've got, what have we got? We got 4 Colossus, we got the 5 Immortals, and a lot of Stalkers and a lot of Zealots. A few sentries in the mix there, along with one little observer to make sure he can spot any ghosts coming. But this could be it. We're going to have a big battle, I would assume. We're still trying to wait for these guys to actually engage. Avila trying to find the best position for his forces. Obviously, he'd want to be in a position that was decently open, so he had room to move and try and get away from the Zealots and the force fields, of course. Or perhaps he may try and make it so that the forces of Bosnic are funneled in a little bit like this. If he could funnel them in here and then sort of take them from the low ground where you have a much better concave to attack from, he could actually do a decent sized damage on all of these units here. But it looks as if Bosnic is actually just going to commit to running in through the front of the base of Avila. No, he's actually going to cut through the middle here. One Marine falling to his death there. The many Colossus just beaming away at that guy. It's like an episode of Star Trek or something like that. And we're still just waiting to see what goes on between these two guys. We have one Colossus still back at the base. A couple more are on the way. That is really going to bolster the forces of Bosnic and just pretty much win the game for him straight away once those get into battle. Plus 2 to shields is not done yet. You still do need a Twilight Council to get that, and given how many buildings that Bosnic has lost, he's had a little bit of trouble getting that particular upgrade. Meanwhile, down here at this expansion, this one is mined out. We have an attempted expansion here at this one, and he's going to get that one up probably. It's not going to survive too long, I wouldn't think, if Bosnic has anything to say about it. But now we do see that this game has become a little bit of a quiet situation here. These guys just sort of waiting to see who's going to make the move in terms of attacking, because as we can see here, I mentioned that that sort of bottleneck position there may actually serve Avila quite well, but it looks as if Bosnic is going to go in for it anyway, coming through the middle, putting up a Guardian Shield. The Zealots at the front, some Immortals now coming into the fight. The Colossus are going to be taken down, I would suspect, by some of these Vikings in the sky. The Stalkers are blinking through here, taking out the rest of those Vikings. The medevacs sitting at the front, running around like headless chooks. And they are going to be able to take out a lot of these forces. As we said, a bottleneck working nicely there for Avila. Whilst he is probably going to lose the rest of these forces, he can resupply it quite quickly, given that he's right next to his own base. And unlike Bosnic, he has not lost all of his production facilities. But as we have a look on the income tab, we actually have Bosnic in a much better position to actually resupply it, as opposed to where Avila is with that sort of measly mineral income and no gas at all. Meanwhile, a pylon just down here from Bosnic to make sure he can warp in some units and attack this base. But the planetary fortress will have something to say about that. And now coming along here, he's going to run through, probably take out this command center before it gets morphed into the planetary fortress, because of course those zealots with their +3 are doing 11 damage per attack with those double attacks, and he's probably going to secure this base, I would suspect, given that he's now sort of sitting in a very commanding position. But now coming down to the planetary fortress, Bosnic attempting to do what he can to get rid of this one. There are a lot of SCVs repairing this planetary fortress of doom, staying up for the rest of eternity, it seems, until all of those SCVs fall off, and they are going to die now. And that is going to be the end of that particular base there. But it looks as if we're going to have a drop here from VTavilo, his last hurrah. This is definitely the last hurrah. These last few forces are just running through here. He now has no more income. He's going to do what he can. Some Vikings are on the ground doing the little bit of damage they do. How much damage do they do exactly? Oh no, he pulled them up into the medevacs there. So he's not too worried about bringing them into the medevacs. You don't actually see that too often. And there's a GG. VTavilo finally succumbing to that constant pressure at the end of the game there from Bosnic, and despite the something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like 40 nukes that went off this game, VTavilo was just not able to control the map as well as he'd liked, and just losing out in some positions where Bosnic was able to get extra bases up. He was able to secure extra gateways and robo facilities and just absolutely slam out units, considering he had a fantastic economy for most of the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope some of you stuck around for the whole thing. And if you do want to see some more MLG replays that you liked, that you heard about, that you liked, or something like that, let me know. Send me a message on Twitter, @DuckvilleLol, and I'll do my best to get them casted for you. Cheers.